words have been magnified, so apparently, now, master bedroom is now racist. So I'm going to check out this article here from CNN, and it says here that everyday words and phrases that have racist connotations. Now, I don't know if the term master bedroom really did come from like slave days when, the master had his bedroom and there were slave quarters and all this other. I don't know. I don't know the origin of a lot of these words, but it says here that we've got several words that are like this. So let's check this out. The words and phrases permeate nearly every aspect of our society. Master bedrooms in our homes, blacklists, white lists. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, blackness. It's always been like that in TV. The good guy wears white, but I'm not the black guy. The bad guy wears black. And anyway, the idiom "slow down the river" in our everyday speech. Okay. Many are so entrenched that Americans don't think twice about using them, but some of these terms are directly rooted in the nation's history with chattel slavery. Okay. Others now evoke racist notions about black people. Words like slave and master are so folded into the vocabulary and almost unconsciously speak to the history of racial slavery and racism in the U.S. Okay. But America's reckoning, Gotham's reckoning, sorry I had to do that, with systemic racism is now forcing a more critical look at the language we use. And while the offensive nature of many of these words and phrases have long been documented, some institutions are now beginning to drop them from the lexicon. Okay. It is suggested that people think about the context certain words can carry and how using them could alienate others. Language works best when it brings as many people into communication with each other. If we know by using certain language we're disinviting certain people from the conversation, language isn't doing its job. Here are some familiar words and phrases you might consider dropping from your vocabulary. In real estate, there is master bedroom. A master bedroom typically refers to the largest bedroom in the house. Correct. Often accompanied by a private bathroom. I always thought it was called master bath. Nationally, 42% of current property listings on Zillow use the term master in reference to a bedroom or a bath. The phrase master bedroom first appeared in 1926 Sears catalog, according to the real estate blog Trelora. It was a feature of a $4,398 Dutch colonial home, the most expensive in the catalog, referring to a large second-floor bathroom with a private bathroom. Okay. Master bedrooms were more widely implemented in American homes after World War II, intended to give working parents a private space within their own home. While it's unclear whether the term is rooted in American slavery on plantations, it evokes that history. I never thought of it like that, personally. I never did. Now, because of its slavery-era connotations, some members of the real estate industry are now calling to retire the term master. I have heard them call it a primary bedroom, I think, so, alright. It says here, in computer technology, master and slave, tech engineers use terms to describe components of software and hardware which one process or device controls the other. The terms have been around for decades, and they've long raised concerns. In 2014, the programming language Drupal replaced master-slave terminology with primary and replica. Okay. And let's see, last week, Twitter announced it's dropping master-slave and blacklist from its code after 2 engineers lobbied to use more inclusive programming. More inclusive. It's just funny, like that word inclusive is like starting to permeate the ether now, you know? Words matter. A Twitter engineer. Hashtag words matter. Blacklist, whitelist. In tech, a blacklist refers to a directory of specific elements such as email addresses, IP addresses, or URLs that are blocked. A whitelist, by contrast, is made up of elements that are allowed. Though the origins of those terms don't appear to be directly connected to race, some argue that they reinforce notions that black equal bad and white equal good. I could understand that. I could definitely understand that and see that how people be like, how come the blacklist gotta be the one where you don't get in, man? I get that. Google's Chromium, an open source browser project, and Android's open source project have both encouraged developers to use block list and allow list. Okay? It still sounds like black man. Anyway, and recently, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, a federal agency that develops technology, metrics, and standards for everything from atomic clocks to computer chips, said it would stop using computer security terms with racist overtones. Okay? In sports, the Masters tournament. I've heard people make jokes about this. It's one of the 4 major tournaments on the PGA Tour, and it is usually called simply the Masters. The history of the name goes back to 1934 when the tournament was first held at Augusta National Golf Club in Georgia. Now, I personally do not watch golf. Hearing the Masters always made me think of just they're a Masters at golf. That's it. I never thought of it as a master and a slave, but yeah. So, I lost my place. Clifford Roberts, one of the co-founders, wanted to call the event the Masters Tournament, according to the tournament website, but co-founder Bobby Jones rejected the idea over concerns that it was too presumptuous. Okay. Roberts finally got his way in 1939. The name appears to have been a reference to golfers with great skills. I mean, that's what I thought. But its connotations have brought the name under scrutiny. Deadspin sports writer Robert Parker recently called on the tournament to change its name. Parker argues that the name evokes slave masters in the U.S. South, especially given the history of the golf course where it's held. Oh, interesting. For decades, Augusta National Golf Club required that all caddies be black. It also banned the black golfers from the Masters tournament until 1975. Peanut Gallery. Really? Okay, now I don't know where this one's going here. In the arts. The Peanut Gallery. The phrase typically refers to the cheapest seats in a theater and is informally used to describe critics and hecklers. That's what I thought it was. Hecklers. The Peanut Gallery over here. That's what I always thought. I didn't know that it was originally the cheapest seats. I never knew that. When someone says, no comments from the Peanut Gallery, it implies that a certain group of commentators is rowdy or uninformed. Right. The term dates back to the vaudeville era of the 19th century and referred to the sections of the theater where black people typically sat. Jeffrey Barg, who writes a language column for the Philadelphia Inquirer, noted recently that the first documented use of peanut gallery appeared in the New Orleans Times in 1867. The term was cemented in pop culture in the 1940s when the radio show Howdy Doody used it to refer to live audience of children. The name also carried over to TV version of Howdy Doody in the 1950s. In law, grandfathered in. I don't know where that's going, but let's see. This legal term broadly refers to the grandfather clause adopted by 7 southern states during the Reconstruction era. Under it, anyone who was able to vote before 1867 was exempt from the literacy tests, property requirements, and poll taxes needed for voting. But enslaved black people were not freed until 1865, when the 13th Amendment passed, and weren't granted the right to vote until the 15th Amendment was passed in 1870. The grandfather clause effectively excluded them from voting, a practice that continued until the 1960s. Now, grandfathered in means that a person or company are exempt from following new laws, but grandfather clause in its original context disenfranchised black Americans for decades. Wow, there's a lot of these terms that are like, okay, so check this out. So it says here, an everyday speech. Lynch, not lynch mob, that's next. Cakewalk. It's what we call an easy victory or something that's easily accomplished. Yes. The cakewalk originated as a dance performed by enslaved black people on plantations before the Civil War. It was intended to be a mockery of the way white people danced, though plantation owners often interpreted slaves' movements as unskillful attempts to be like them. Interesting. Owners held contests in which enslaved people competed for a cake. Later, the dance and the idiom was popularized through minstrel shows, characterized by a high leg prance with a backward tilt of the head, shoulders, and upper torso. Lynch mob. That says it for itself. The racist roots of the phrase are hidden in plain sight, though it's evolved into an umbrella term for an unjust attack. Lynch mobs originated as hordes of people, mostly always white, who tortured and killed black people, often by hanging them as a form of vigilante justice. Uppity. It's an epithet. I don't see that word too many times. Used by white people in the Jim Crow era to describe black people they believed were showing them enough defiance. And that's true. I've seen enough on TV with that. This is uppity Negro. Black ball, black mark. In terms, both imply wrongdoing. If you bear a black mark, you've done something that people hold against you. If you've been blackballed, you've been banned from joining an organization because of something you've done. The phrase it didn't originate in times of slavery, but the use of black to describe things are wrong, and it's subconsciously racialized. Gotcha. Sold down the river. Okay, well that sounds like that's gonna, So it says here, while the phrase now refers to devastating betrayal, its history is more fraught. In the 1800s, black slaves were literally sold down the river. slave traders traveled along the Mississippi River, selling enslaved people to plantation owners further south. Oh, well, folks. I guess I would ask the question, do you care if these words are being changed? I personally don't. If you're looking to make it more positive, I'm fine with that. I don't like, changing blacklist to block list. Okay. Approve list, whatever they're calling them, for the white list. And I don't, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with it. And I get that, as we can see here, some of them did come from slavery times. Some of them just have a thing where you're equating black with bad and white with good. So they want to remove that, so it's not anything that's subconscious. I've seen and read several things about the whole black being bad, white being good thing, and it can sit in your subconscious and make you unconsciously make certain racist, I guess you could say, decisions in your life. So anyway, post comments down below. Let me know what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and share.